In this module, I'm going to be describing looping operations that can be performed in a computer program and looking at the three major types of loops that you can create in your programs. Now, just to start out with, a loop itself is a segment of code in a computer program that will be executed 0 or more times consecutively based on the conditions given for the loop. The looping operations can be broken into two major types that I have right here, either a fixed loop or a conditional loop. The fixed loop is going to be a for loop. A for loop will be a loop that runs a fixed number of times based on the conditions defined in that loop. And then a conditional loop will be a loop that will run an unspecified number of times based upon a condition that will be rechecked every time through the loop. And I'll start out this example by just showing a for loop. A basic for loop will look something like for x equals 1. And let's say I say x is less than 11. And then I'll say plus plus x. Now what this loop says, we're going to start the loop with this value here called x, and this is called our loop variable. It starts with a value of 1, and it will run the loop until x reaches the value of 11, and then it will increment x by 1 each time through the loop. The increment means that the first time through the loop, x will be equal to 1. The second time through the loop, it'll be equal to 2. The next time through, it'll be equal to 3. And it will increment by 1 all the way up until it reaches the value of 11. Now, this particular loop will run 10 times. Because the way the loop works is it says that when x, as long as x is less than 11, continue running the loop. The loop will start with x equal to 1. It'll run through the loop. And then it will finally end when x equals 11. So that means that the 10th time through the loop, x equals 10. It will run through the loop. And then the next time through, it will increment where x is equal to 11. And that will reach that condition there, and then the loop will exit. So, however many times you want the loop to run, you'll make this exit value here 1 larger than that. So like in my case, I want this to run from x equals 1 to x equals 10, so I make that 11. Then inside the for loop, you will perform some sort of operation. Let's say, for instance, I do sum equals sum plus x. What this will do is it takes this variable named sum and it will add the value of x each time through. So like the first time through x, it will be sum is equal to the present value of sum plus 1. The second time through, it will be sum equals sum plus 2, and so forth all the way down through until it's the final iteration through sum equals sum plus 10. And then after we go through the 10th iteration of this loop, then it will exit out because we've reached our exit condition. But a for loop, because of the way they're configured, they're set to run a fixed number of times. The other two loops will run a variations of times, depending upon the exit condition. Like, first, giving an example of a while loop. While, and I will say not end. This end will be a Boolean value that can either be true or false. It will start out with the end value being false, meaning that you are not going to end the program. And then you will say, right here, we'll perform an operation to input next record. Where this will be a command to enter the data for some sort of record that we're entering into the program. Then we will say reply equals input right here we'll say, do you want to enter another record? Which they will answer either yes or no. And then if we say if reply equals no, then end equals true. Right there. So the way this will work, you will run through a command that has the user enter some sort of record. Then you'll prompt the user, do you want to enter another record? And then they'll answer either yes or no. If they answer yes, it goes back through the loop again and will enter the next record. If they say no, it will set this end variable to true. Then when it comes back to the while condition, it will see that end is now true and it will exit from this while loop. Now the while loop may not run at all. Because if you have already set earlier in the program where end is set to true, when it gets to the while loop and sees that end is already set to true, it will just skip this completely. But if not, it will sit here and run until you have the user enter that they do want to end, and then it will actually exit out of that while loop. So the while loop might possibly not run at all, meaning it runs 0 times, or it could run indefinitely depending upon how much data the user chooses to enter. The final loop is a do-while loop. The do-while loop is very similar to the while loop, except that the do-while loop is configured so that it will always run at least once. It will start with a do. And let's say we perform some sort of operation here where we will input next record. Then I will prompt the user. Do you want to enter another record? And then if reply equals no, then we will say end equals true. Then at the end of this, we will have a while, not end. Now here, you'll notice most of the code here is identically the same as my previous example. The important difference is the while statement is put at the bottom of the loop. This configuration right here guarantees that this loop will always run at least once. And then whenever end becomes true, it will then exit out. Where it could run once, or it could run 5 times or 10 times, or however many records that the user chooses to enter. But the critical difference is, because the while loop is at the end of the loop instead of the beginning, it's guaranteed to always run at least once. Whereas the while loop with the statement at the top may not run at all if the condition here is already set to false at the before that loop is reached.